Here we go again, guys. It is August 11th. It's about 5:49 a.m. in the morning, and I just had an amazing experience. Brief as always too brief, and I always wish that I could stay longer. It's interesting. I just saw a question from someone in the last day or so saying, well, one of my fears is, I won't be able to come back to the physical. And the way I responded to this individual is basically, look, my biggest problem or issue is staying out. I have no worries about being able to get back into my body. It's instantaneous, and we have to do what we can to sustain our time out there. But anyway, with no further ado, let me get into this because, oh, wow, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So it was the usual scenario for me. I had been up late and, looking at Spanish a little bit, doing some other things. And then I eventually, I laid down to go to sleep. And as I was lying there, I was just, in my mind and my thoughts, just reminding myself, as I remind you, that I am always in control of my experiences, and they can be as beautiful as I want, or they don't have to be beautiful. It is always up to me. In the same way, it is always up to you. You are always in control. So eventually, after lying there for a while, sometimes when you're there, this is the thing about any of these kinds of experiences. You have to be patient. You have to be patient because sometimes it doesn't just come on. Many times it takes a while, and this one took a while too. I felt that surge of energy, and suddenly I was in motion, which is an amazing feeling for me. I never know where I'm going to go, and that's really exciting. I know there are those of you out there who feel if you astral project or if you do something else that, you want to be able to go here, you want to be able to go there. And I've done that. It's been amazing to be able to do that. But now I actually kind of like the thought that I'm going on an adventure and I'm not sure where I'm going to end up. Perhaps that's just something that takes time for you to get through once you get through the idea of wanting to go into space, go to different planets, do time travel and all these different things that I do also enjoy to do. But I really enjoy the thought that I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up when I go, when I'm in motion. It is amazing. And of course, I was in darkness, as I always am. And as the motion began to slow down, the darkness began to lift. I was in this huge house. It was big. Oh my gosh, it was so big. The one thing I focused on, and what I try to do for you now when I'm in these places, what I really try to do is focus on a few things so that I can remember them really well, because I know I'm not going to remember everything with these experiences. As I've told you before, especially with the beyond body, I begin to forget almost immediately. But I do remember certain things. And the first thing I remember was a huge bay window. And I mean, this was big. It was so big. This window was huge in this house. And so when I looked out, I could see all these different colors. I think I remember seeing turquoise, but there were other colors too in the sky. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. Hard for me to describe, as if an artist had taken paints and mixed them, and that was the sky. It was, oh, I don't think that appropriately describes it, but I'm just trying to give you sort of a description. There was someone else in that house with me, and that someone else was my mother. Now, I've had experiences where I have encountered my mother before. There was one where I was in a car and we were going up into the hills, and we were going to some place called La Blanc, I guess, in some other reality. And I was young. I must have been maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe I was 17, 18. My mom was very, very young at the time, and she looked absolutely amazing. But this time it was different than that last time, because when I saw her, I guess there was a bit of surprise there, but some part of me kind of knew that she had come with me on this trip. Now, the first thing I'm sure many of you are going to ask is, are you going to ask her if she has any memory of this? I certainly will, because I tell my mother all my experiences. However, I'm not really going to hold on to the idea that she'll remember any of this if that was the version of her that I know. Who knows? We're infinite, and that could have been one of an infinite number of versions of her. I'm not sure. This version of her, remember, was wearing a white t-shirt, like a gown, and she had long, dark hair. And it's funny, her hair isn't like that in this reality. It's different. She normally wears it in braids. And she'll wear it in different ways, but it's not long like it was. This was long, and it was long. She had really long hair. It was just really weird. And when I saw her face, she again looked young. She didn't have the makeup on that I had seen the previous time that I had seen her when in a previous experience. It almost looked as if she had just woken up out of a sleep. And I remember one of the first things I did was open the door. And as I opened the door to this enormous house, I saw that the ground was like dirt and rocks. And in the distance, I saw houses that had roofs like, I'm trying to remember what kind of roofs they were. It reminded me of what houses would look like in a place like Tuscany. And there were many of these houses. They stretched on and on. They were everywhere. And my mom came out into the light. And I remember that it was funny because inside the house, it seemed to be dark, even though there was this big, huge window and I saw those colors, it was dark. But when I opened the door of the house, the light just kind of rushed in and the sky was piercing blue. And then I saw all these beautiful Tuscany style, I guess, houses. I don't even know if I'm getting that correct. Tuscany style. I don't know if that's a thing or not. I just felt like I might be in Tuscany. I mean, I've been to Italy before, so I kind of know the look, but I know I was in the hills. And when my mom stepped out, one of the things I was thinking of was, wow, I get to show her what it's like to do this. I get to show her what it's like to be in the beyond body. And I remember my mom asked a question like, how did we get here, or something like that, something like that. And I looked at my mom and I laughed and I said, you know, this is the beyond body. This is what I do. This is my ability. And she smiled. She was just looking out at everything. And she walked out. And as she walked out, another interesting thing happened. Another being walked out of that house. Now, I would describe this being as being about, oh gosh, 3 feet tall, maybe? African boy, 3 feet tall, walks up to me, not any taller than the first half of my leg. I mean, just really tiny, and looked up at me. And I reached down and I took him by the hand, and suddenly he grew. He grew right there, guys. He just expanded. Suddenly he was as tall as we were. This was my guide. It was a form of my guide. Now, I don't know why he started out as small as he did. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure if my mind was translating something that I was seeing that it just didn't understand. That maybe it was my guide was materializing at that moment, and that's what I took it to mean, that suddenly he was really short and then he was really tall. But it's funny, I also feel that he took on some other form than a boy, maybe a woman that was tall and slender. I'm not 100% sure, but I know both were African. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. I mean, your guides can take on any form. And my guide said something to my mother and she laughed, but I couldn't hear what my guide said. But right after that, we turned and we began to walk toward this, I guess it would be an adventure of some sort. But unfortunately, these things don't last very long. As soon as we turned to leave, I lost my grip on this reality. And I was back. I opened my eyes. I ran to the computer, and now I'm here and I'm telling you about the adventure. Wow. My mom, she looked beautiful and amazing, and trust me, my mother is an amazing person. She is, truly is. And it was so great seeing this version of her. It was wonderful. Anyway, that's the experience. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.